Funeral to your ego. How is everyone doing? Been a tough week. Scorpio moon. Bringing up all the darkness, all the unresolved trauma, all the issues, maybe revisiting things that had happened before, things you thought had been cleared, things that you thought you had moved on from and had got through. So I'd like you to comment about how this week has been for you. Has this week been beautiful or challenging? Now, normally I have a beautiful week, but this week has been challenging for me as well because of the Scorpio moon. So initially there was for me like work triggers, Have you been having any work triggers? And thinking, oh, this is a very 3D workspace. I need to be in a 5D space, spiritual work. So initially there was that going on this week. That was the funeral happening to the ego. And then also what was happening was I woke up on two occasions in the morning feeling like really annoyed with my divine masculine. I was just like, fix yourself up. Like, where are you? And I think it's because I was annoyed with work, kind of wanting him to come out, swoop in and like save the day. And also the DMs are meant to be the ones with the money, right? They're meant to be the ones that's helping you with your purpose. And I'm like, if he's got the dough, the millionaire, then we could quit the job, and start full time with the spiritual stuff. So there was that for 2 days. And then I was annoyed with him, and all the stuff he had done came up. And I thought, you know what? I thought I'd let it all go. I thought I'd forgiven. And I don't want to become like one of those like angry bitches, like when you're in union and they are with you and they do something or they say something and you look at them and you be like, I have suffered. I have been through so much. Don't you know you treat me like shit? And I don't want to be those angry bitches that brings up stuff. So I know a lot of divine feminines had a lot of stuff with work stuff going on. So, and also the DM being slow communication. Thank you, Heal with Aria, for kind of also confirming that. So I kind of was like passing on my issues with work to my DM. And then all of a sudden, all the stuff from the past that he did, that I had forgiven, I thought I worked hard. But the Scorpio moon is just like bringing up any residual stuff, right? So then I was just like really pissed off with him. But then I was like, I don't want to become one of those like angry bitches, like always like have that up my sleeve for him. Like that's what he'll be really like scared of as well. Like I'm always going to bring that up. I don't want to. And I am a Scorpio and how that is. Then I had two lovely dreams actually where, where they romance you and then you wake up and you're like, okay, it's fine. So that happened. And then things were okay again. But today I got a little triggered and I was like, ooh, and I was thinking maybe you lot have too. So I, obviously interview loads of people, have clients, blah, blah, blah. And I interviewed a DM today who claims to be a twin flame in union, right? And I'm listening to this beautiful DM from South Africa, gorgeous, stunning, and very spiritual, more spiritual than I, which is fine. And the journey's so loving and kind, and the separation wasn't much, and it was so beautiful journey. In my head, I'm thinking, is this twin flame? Is this high level soulmate or whatever? And it just which doesn't matter. But then I started thinking, my DM wasn't like that. That's the kind of person I would choose, right? Like I choose that loving, kind, high level soulmate type of, or maybe that really evolved DM sort of thing. But obviously in the twin flame journey, usually your DM is, well, not usually, your DM is your polar opposite. And if you have a lot of shadows or you're working on a lot of stuff for humanity, then you'll have a big bunch of things to work on, And whether this person I interviewed, maybe they were evolved from past lives or they didn't have as much shadows, or in fact, they're not twin flames, is another matter. But it kind of made me feel like, again, all the shit I've gone through and my DM is not spiritual. And all that stuff, right? So it was all coming up for me. So I'll look at some comments later. But then I spoke to some DFs, and their DMs were horrific and not nice. And it's all individual, right? But generally, yes, the DMs are not very spiritually awakened and they're not very great. But all of this stuff that happens is to have a funeral for our ego. We also give them a funeral. A lot of the DMs are going through it now. A lot of DFs have started to come into their power, started to balance, started to focus on themselves, really surrendering this year, which is good. thinking about purpose, thinking about work, thinking about career, money, more of the masculine aspects, balancing that out. And a lot of the DMs are going within and starting to focus on their feminine aspects of loving themselves and feeling that nurturing energy. Hopefully you can hear me. So I want to talk about a lot of different things today. Okay, so I'll start off with the DM. We know this. They are the other half of your soul, okay? And we cannot control them. The actual joy for them on their journey is learning all the things. So imagine a baby learning to crawl, learning to walk, learning to fall with grace, getting back up again, 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, and then eventually exploring and learning things. So the DM is like a newborn baby, okay? We as DFs, we understand, we know, we've got the intuition, we've got the memo, but they don't, and they are not going to listen to us. They're not going to, unless their ego is in check and they really learn to be humble, they're going to do things their own way. And the DMs, I'll give you an analogy. They're very clumsy. They're very like typical men, right? Very like big hands. And they go fishing, for example, and they just throw a huge net out into the ocean and just grab everything, and then they want to see. So they find you and they're like, oh, that's lovely. That's really nice. But let me see what else is out there. I want to get the best deal. So they put you aside and then they go through and look at all the other lovely things. Oh, this tastes nice. This looks good, but it's not as good as the first one. And they're just clumsily going through that big net. That's how they are. They're not very discerning. They're not very particular, and they're very clumsy. Whereas the divine feminine is very defined, very refined. She knows what she wants. I want a certain like blue-fished tuna with golden speckles that tastes like this. So she only needs to just put like literally a fishing rod into the ocean or just grab it, the fish herself. She doesn't need to go exploring around everything else. Once she's got it, she knows it and she's done. So the way they operate is kind of different. So with the DM, you kind of have to let them fall, crawl, and learn themselves. And it's infuriating. And it is teaching us a lot about patience and allowing, because they're like a newborn baby that has to discover the world themselves. They're going to have to discover about spirituality, about faith and surrender and inner healing all by themselves because they're scared of you. And we'll explain why, the energy. So we have to allow them, almost like a sibling, like you have a younger brother or whatever, to learn stuff and make mistakes. It's not easy. And we can't attach any sort of expectations or extras about that. We want to, but they're just not ready. They're a baby. They haven't caught up yet, So the expectations need to go. They have a free remit to do what they want, okay? And that also means with their healing too. So they can walk, fall down, scrape their knees, and you can try to help them, or you can just watch them get up and process the learning themselves. Now, when they do all these things, there is that 90% free will of how to go about, but the 10% that's going to happen is going to happen anyway. So they will go around and bang their heads around and stuff like that, but then they will get the repercussions, okay? So all of us, we are never stagnant. Like I said, this week, I went back into patterns of thinking, of negativity, of like, oh my God, ego. So we're always in flux, up and down, and we always change like the weather does, and things affect us, work affects us, life affects us. And so we always have to remain in that place of peace, of neutrality, of 0 point, try at least, because we get affected by other people's energies as well, our hormones, what's going on, and nothing is static. So the DM does have free will, that 90%, to be able to do whatever they want. But then they suffer the backlash and the repercussions with the towers and the ego deaths and things like that until they come back. So sometimes there will be knee-jerk reactions with the 2 steps forwards and 1 step back, and they might go back into patterns and you think it's a regression. But it's not, because they do that and then they get blasted and they realize they shouldn't do it and they feel bad. And when we're in union, there are more chances of knee-jerk reactions because there's more energies with you face to face. So it's very important for us to master that stable 0 point position so that we can anchor that union. And what I feel with a lot of DFs who do get triggered and then push and do all the stuff and the weaving and the running is because they haven't mastered yet. And it's very, very, it's a high level of mastering 0 point. So I definitely suggest that that is what we work on completely, no matter what happens, to keep staying in that place of balance. And as we stay in 0 point, that's the fastest way to ascension and union, okay? And for the DMs, we are like their biggest nightmare, their biggest love too. And that sort of mixed feelings really affects them. It does affect them, and the energy pushes them to do better. And therefore, they find it hard and they run, okay? We're trying to call them back to home, but we're essentially calling ourselves back. We're calling ourselves back to the truth, away from the mind and the ego and into the soul. And that's where the whole 0 point element comes into play, And when we do meet them, it is the whole thing that I've talked about before, which is emptying the cup. Now, when you meet, your pain body's activated, all the fear, all the things get activated, and everything in the cup has to come out, all the toxicity, right? So rather than a cup, let me give you another analogy. So imagine a balloon that's full of helium, okay? And you go and you pop the balloon, you burst it. All the air, all the toxicity has to come out. That balloon has to be deflated. That ego has to be deflated so that you can return back to your crystalline divinity. So with the DM, all the air that's coming out, that's all the toxicity, and it's terrible. It looks terrible. But you'll have it too. You'll have your own stuff as well. And when they're doing their silly stuff, their toxic stuff, the drugs, the sex, the rock and roll, and all that kind of crap, it's a cry for help. In their right mind, they don't want to be doing that. You may think they do, but their soul is actually crying for help. All that fear, all that trauma is coming out of their body, and it is a cry for help. They're actually not. It looks like they're having a great time, but I tell you, they collapse. When you bring your energy back, they cannot sustain that wild lifestyle. Now, some of them are not going wild. Some of them are just being with karmics or drowning themselves in work or whatever they're doing. And that also cannot be sustained. You may think that they won't change, but trust me, they do have a metamorphosis like a butterfly. They will come out the cocoon. They will. And you have to believe it. And even if you don't believe it, it just happens. Like for mine, he was crazy. And though I used to journal and then I stopped journaling it, I was like, this man ain't changing. And I just don't see someone who has, from the age of 16, taken their clothes off and put it all over the internet. It's going to stop. Like, I just don't see someone who's got a habit pattern of always being naked on the internet from the age of 16. And I'll tell you, it stopped. So you'll be surprised. Now, the key thing is when you do meet, like, all your fears are being emptied from you, all being released. So your ego is attached to control, to fear, to wanting to know what is happening, to be able to figure out its own position, to be safe. Because the twin is seen as a threat, not only for you, but for them too. It's a threat. What is this? A threat to the ego, a threat to your life, a threat to the way you operate and the mechanisms and practices you've got. And the feeling of surrender, of trusting the divine, is like something that you've not really fully done before. So that fear all has to be worked out, the system, and that's when the ego is really, really playing a part. Especially for the DMs, they really hold on to it. They're very strong in avoidance, very strong in maintaining that level of pretending that you don't matter. But you will liberate them and they will liberate you. Initially, they liberate you and trigger the hell out of you, and you don't understand it. And, I've been there too. I've done a lot of inner work. And some of you have done a lot of inner work too, and some of you have not. And you are still stuck in some patterns. That's fine. And some of you are like, why is he doing this? And why is he doing that? And I feel like I'm saying things, but it's not registering. And that's okay, because it will. Because I remember when I first started my journey, I was told, Manny, surrender, 0 point, divine timing, and God. And it took me like a year and a half, maybe 2 years to figure that out. I didn't even know what 0 point was in the beginning, And so they say all these things, surrender, divine, and you just don't know. And you don't even have the capacity to listen because you're not in a state of peace. You're not in a state of balance. You're not in a state of equanimity. You're in fear. You're in shock. You're in trauma. You're like running for your life. You're in the jungle and you're like panting and you're like and you're not calm. You're anxious, right? So your nervous system is all over the place. So you're not going to be able to even listen to the words. And it's really interesting because my ego this week has had funerals. Several funerals we've had. Have you also? So not only with the work stuff and then waking up with the DM, thoughts of the DM and just being like, and then today's interview where the DM allegedly, Twin Flame has had such a great journey. But then something else happened. One of my followers, who's been following me for quite a while, and I always reply to everyone and then DM me and whatever else. And she messaged me and she mentioned like two Twin Flame coaches, and she says, "You've got to interview them." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll interview them." I'll ask the first one. It's All Star. What's his name? The All Star guy, and he doesn't want to be interviewed, right? And I said, "You can ask them. So if you've got any recommendations, yeah, for sure. Like ask them. That I'd love to interview them." And then she's like, "Now I finally understand everything." And I was like, "Girl, you didn't understand that with me for 2 years." And that was my ego, like I'm here busting my ass by myself, and I'm like all the things, and you didn't understand with me. But I understand sometimes you need the message to come from a different vocabulary, a different angle, a different thing, And that was my ego being funeralized, like killed, which is fine. And it's good to have that. It's good to have that remembrance that you're nothing, and it doesn't really matter. And to be honest, the two people she recommended, one of them I just feel like says the same thing. Like someone do the very basic information over and over and over and over and over again and say, for the real information, you got to pay £10,000 and then we'll give you, and then we'll get your union. And you know what? Your union won't even happen with all that because I have spent 40,000. Sorry, we're having some connection issues for some reason. Your twin flame will only come to you when it is the right time. Okay? When they are ready. You can be ready, but it depends when they are ready. So I spend a lot of money. I spend a lot of money, a lot. Okay, we're trying 5G. I don't know what's happening with the damn internet. I don't know what's going on, people. So in the beginning, I was like, I'm gonna do everything. You know how in that Kardashian, there's that little clip of them. We got all the time, we got all the resources, we got all the da-da-da to get this done. You can't mess with that. So that's what was me, I had all the money, I had all the time, I had all the things, and I was going to get this done. And it's not a race. It's not a game as such. It is a game, but it's not something that you conquer, right? It's something that you become and you allow, because the other person has their free will elements, but the divine timing will happen with it. And you can't push someone who's not ready. Okay, so imagine you go to a baby who's just been born and you say to them, listen, I'm going to pay all the money in the world and you're going to be like running by the end of that. It takes a process. They're not going to run just like that. Okay, so yeah, there is that element. So the person said to me, oh, I finally understand now. And I'm like, girl, you've been following me for 2 years and you didn't understand with my content. Like that really affected my ego. And but I was like, the one person you recommended, she doesn't even believe in anything spiritual. Nothing. There's no spiritual element to her stuff. But then she also contradicts herself. And I never connected, but I'm glad that you connected and you understand everything now and you go you. And then the other person is like how a lot of these coaches are. They'll give you a little taste. Okay. They'll say the same stuff that you read on Google or ChatGPT. And then they'll say, now, if you want to heal the union, if you want to ground the energy, if you want to blah, 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 then pay £1,000 on my course and I'll help you. They'll never give you the answer. And then you'll pay the £1,000 and you'll do the course and they'll promise you everything and you still don't get your union because it will happen when God wants it to happen. Okay. So don't get stuck in those traps. Whereas I think with my stuff, I just tell you the answer. That's the answer. And some of you still don't get it, which is fine because I never got it either until I got it. I don't play those games with you. I don't say, oh, you could balance your energy and get into 0 point. But if you want to know what 0 point is, put £10,000 in my account and then I'll tell you. I don't do that, right? I think it's just a marketing ploy and a manipulation game and I don't like it. Right. Sorry, rant over. So yes, separate the DM from the distortions that they are mirroring, okay? Because the distortions are based on the ego, it's their traumas and what they have to mirror. And it's very, when you meet them for the first time and everything else like that, you know the truth of them, you know the soul of them, and then they start acting crazy. But just remember that it's not just the distortions of what is the truth, okay? Who the truth is. Now, for the DMs, we are their biggest nightmare and their headache, and they love us, and they know we won't stop until it's done because the soul wants to ascend and their soul wants to ascend together too. So we're each other's bloody nightmares. We are, until we get to a place of more stillness and peace. That's where the 0 pointness needs to be mastered. Now, some of you ask me, what the hell is 0 point? What the hell is 0 point? I'm not going to be like the rest of the twin flame coaches and say, if you want to know about 0 point, pay me £100,000 in my account, and then I'll tell you. I have a couple of videos. So Kingmaker, Queenmaker, which I made a few months ago, that video, even though it should be called 0 point, but it's not. But Kingmaker, Queenmaker, halfway through, I explain the whole philosophy of 0 point. A few posts ago, I explain it in text, if you like text form. And then I have a 0 point video from December, which you can watch. And then I have some shortened videos. If you don't like to have long videos, you want it done in one clip, 1 minute clip, there's videos on that too. So there you go. And obviously, if you want to go deeper, you can do one-to-one coaching, group coaching. I have my inner union course. That is there too. And that there you get more of a, you can ask your questions, right? Whereas here, you just watch the video and you have to listen. So do remember, you are working as a team. You are tag teaming, even though it doesn't seem like it. When they're avoiding you, they're running away from you, they're actually teaching you to go back within. When they're blocking you, they're teaching you to go within. So don't worry about it. You are going to get there. You will. Because otherwise you'll go crazy and you'll go insane. Because the journey, I'm surprised I haven't ended up in an asylum, but it does otherwise cause you to go loopy and face your neurosis until you get to a place of peace. So you will get there. Don't you worry about it. You'll get there. Just have to practice more peacefulness. I had a twin flame coach for 1 year in the beginning of the journey. I used to do it every Sunday. I think we used to have a session at 12. And she was very peaceful, right? And I said to her one day when I went to Rome, okay, to see my twin flame, and he didn't show up. And he was on the beach and he was taking his clothes off and doing the crazy stuff with videos and pictures and whatever he was doing because he was triggered. And I was a mess. I was a mess because I went to a club. And before I went to the club, I was meditating and I saw my twin flame naked on all the screens. And I thought, oh God, something's going to happen. So I went to the club and I spoke to a few people and they're like, what are you doing in Rome? Like I was getting a lot of attention. And I said, I'm here to meet a guy. And they're like, oh, which guy? And I said his name to them. And then they were like, no, you cannot be with this man. He's terrible. He slept with everyone's boyfriend and he's given his ass to everyone or whatever you want to call it. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't realize it was that much. But I think some of them exaggerated as well at that time. But anyway, it really triggered me. And they were like, he's the bitch of Rome. He's the bitch of Rome, blah, blah, blah. And then guys were coming up to me and saying, yeah, he slept with my boyfriend. He slept with my boyfriend. And I was like, what the hell? And I messaged my twin flame and I was like, is this your legacy? Is this what you want to be known for? Bitch of Rome? Crazy stuff we go through, right? Anyway, so I had my coaching session the next morning and I was a wreck. But my coach was really peaceful and like a Buddha, and she was really calm. And I said to her, I want to be as peaceful as you, and I'm going to make it. So from that day, I learned how to be more grounded and peaceful and not as triggered. The triggers happen, but it's very less. And now they're non-existent, if I'm honest with you. It's just little bits here and there, but it's not much at all. And I try to stay in that place of 0 point and balance and peace. And this is something I want to keep saying over and over again, because yes, they are there to rattle you and you rattle them, your twin flame. But it's the key is to remain in a place of peace and tranquility. A lot of us are addicted to drama. Are you addicted to drama? Drama isn't healthy and it isn't peaceful and it's not fun in the long run. It drives you crazy. And on the twin flame journey, it drives you to the asylum, mental asylum. So peacefulness is very important. And when they are doing all their stuff and you're doing your stuff too, and whatever's going on in the beginning when you're empty yourself, just imagine it as air bubbles inside of like champagne or sparkling water or cola or whatever you want to call it. The bubbles that are there have to come out. They have to be released. They have to be emptied, the cup. The air has to come out the balloon, and all that toxicity has to come. And you cannot stop it, whether you like it or not. People describe it in different ways, don't they? They say, oh, they're mirroring your issues. And that does not feel right for a lot of you. It didn't feel right to me for the beginning. Like, he's doing crazy stuff. I'm not doing the crazy stuff. Well, that's not me. But eventually I got to the deeps of the unconscious mind and I realized what he was mirroring, and it was me. But some of us want to really reject that. So that analogy is hard, the mirroring of your stuff, core wounds. That's hard to accept because a lot of people that I talk to, they don't even understand what core wounds are and how they're mirroring that. And he's doing that behavior. It's not the behavior. It's what the emotion is underneath that that's making him do the behavior that's mirrored. So that mirroring thing doesn't work, like resonate for a lot of people. But I feel like the empty yourself of the toxicity, that soon as you're activated, all the pain body and the trauma is just coming out. It's being vomited out the system. And it has to come out whether you like it or not. Just let it happen. Just buckle up for a year or two and just let it happen. It's not nice, but it's the sickness that's coming out. And realize, actually, everything is going to perfect plan. It's perfectly divinely orchestrated. You can't mess it up. So when your ego is reacting and all the things are happening, just accept it if you can. I know it's hard. It's a very bitter pill to swallow. A lot of the ego is like, I cannot accept this and that and all this and all these things. And it holds you, as a prisoner to all of the toxicity and the blame. But you'll get to a point where you just surrender and you just like let it go and you say, have your way with me. Whatever's meant to be, it's all good. Trigger me if you want. Take me. And at that point, you just don't care anymore. You don't. And you let it all work out. And I had today when was it yesterday when I was interviewing someone, I had this like thought. So imagine your twin flame, your DM. They are kind of like, you could say like a monster, or like, those like Stranger Things, like a sluggy type of like slimy thing has kind of sucked them up, and you're pulling them out through their arms, and you're pulling them out, and you're dragging them out through that toxicity and that crap and that bull, all the stuff they've gone through. And they're just there all exhausted with slime on themselves and all the disgust, and you're all dirty with slime and you're just exhausted because you've been pulling them out of that monster's mouth. And you're just laying there and there's no self-respect left, because there's no ego and there's no shame left. They've done the worst and you've seen the worst, and humanity's worst is all over and around you, the slime, the disgust, the toxicity. And you're just like, yeah, this is it. This is my lot. This is humanity. This is a raw humanity. And I accept it. And I integrate it and I love it. And I still love them, despite all the crap. And that's the level of sort of funeral you need to be at. Okay. So the DMs, they live a life they think they ought to, as a masculine in the 3D world, in the matrix, with the power, ego, and dominance. And they will hold on as much as they can. They will hold on until God blasts them. Let them hold on. You cannot control it. Let them carry on doing their stuff. Let them carry on being toxic, distorted, drug, sex, rock and roll, car mix, gym. You cannot stop it. The only thing you can do is bring your energy back and let that play out and let it fall flat on their face and let them get hurt and regret it. A lot of them feel guilty. The funeral is happening for them a lot. And they feel bad. They feel shit. And that's why they're not coming back, because they think you're going to eat them up, gobble them up. But their DNA is distorted from the beginning, and it's just restructuring and cleansing itself, and all that toxicity is being released. So the control that we feel we have doesn't exist. We don't have no control. We have to surrender. It's the wound of fear that we have, the control. So the runner is trying to avoid, not only to protect the chaser, because the runner feels worthless and they feel like they're a mess anyway, and why would you want to be around them? Because they are a mess in the beginning. and they feel all this repulsion towards their shadow and all the things coming up, so they run. They don't want to face it, but they have to face it. There's no running away from this. And the chaser chases to protect themselves because they also fear, so they want to control and hold on so that they have safety. And at the end of the day, there is none of that. You have to just let it be and just surrender and trust the divine. So the runner is running for a reason. They are scared, they are avoiding, and the chaser is chasing as they are scared. And this is the attachment. And the attachment has to be let go. The false delusions that your ego can control this journey. The ego must die. Have a funeral for the ego. I wrote in the description, bring your own drinks. I hope you have. So let's celebrate and cheers to the ego deaths and the funerals for both. The twin flames. So the DF wants to control the DM so they are not triggered and they're not hurt, but the DF wants to run away out of control and fear so they're not having to face themselves. But you have to let all the toxicity pour out of you and them, and it will be done when it's done, and you can't do anything about it. Now, the DMs do see things with their ego from a black and white perspective, right and wrong, and you are wrong because you're too spiritual, you're too triggering, you're too wild. You push them into places that they don't want to go to. And they are scared. They are control freaks. This is my territory. You cannot come here. So they block you and they want to be the king of their own castle. But that doesn't work like that because God bless them, okay? And you feel they fear that you are taking away from them. When you are healing and doing your inner work, their ego feels that it's being stripped away, being taken away from, and they want to hold on to those old ways, really staunchly hold on. They're resistant to healing, and then they feel behind. As you are ascending, they feel like they are being left behind, but they're not happy about that. They're not happy about you moving forwards. They're not happy about you making them face themselves. Their ego resists its own funeral, its own dissolution. Okay, this is going to be a really good section now, so I would listen up because it's really, really good, and then we'll answer some questions, okay? We'll answer some questions, but this is the most juicy part. Okay, let's go. Right. So, the divine masculines just don't get it like the divine feminines do. They don't understand it the way we do. They just learn through osmosis, through absorption. They just process it through just by absorbing it through us, through what God of the universe is teaching them. And that's why it takes so long, because that osmosis of that knowing has to seep through every crevice, every nook and cranny of their ego. And they have to it has to take over their whole being. And it's like a long soaking process to soften their shell. So I watched the movie Lucy on Netflix. I don't know if you haven't watched it. It's about a Scarlett Johansson. Someone put drugs her, and then she gets all these powers, and then everything's like she gets taken over, or like in the Matrix, when they just get taken over by the pill and everything. So with the DM, they resist until the last breath, but their whole being is being soaked constantly until they finally crack. And that's why they have the Satori with the instant awakening, because their hardened ego shell is very resistant to change. So they have to be constantly soaked and prepared before they soften. And what happens in that stage is the divine feminine is like 1,000 miles ahead, driving in a Ferrari, living their abundant life, having the best life, having a good time, let go, surrendered. Whereas the divine masculine is dwindling behind in a broken wheelbarrow. And it takes them ages to catch up. They don't trust it. They are selfish. They don't want to give away their own life. They want to stay safe, even if they're unhappy with that. Until the last gasp of air, they're holding on. The best thing you can do, divine feminine, is get into your Ferrari and drive and enjoy. Put down the roof and have a great life. And just let them catch up when it's the right time. Because the DM must clear his own bloodline as well as the DF, and they must also heal. Now, They could, the DMs, could easily and quickly align themselves to their own divinity easily through that process of osmosis. They could. It's available to them because the DF's done it already. They've already done it. But their ability to do that depends upon their free will and their like wantingness, their openness to do so, their lack of fear, and their capacity to trust it. But they tend not to, do they? So that's why they want to do it in their own time. And the free will aspect is what they hold on to and claw onto the cliff. But eventually they get pushed with that 10%. So they have all the abilities to heal straight away. They can defocus and refocus on the healed version. They could have it right now. They could be right now where they need to be. But because of that damn ego that we're having a funeral for today, they resist. The divine gives them a lot of opportunities and chances until it finally breaks the straw of the camel's back. The dam breaks, and then they are a puddle of tears, and they're lost and confused, and they feel bad for all the stuff they've done. And that's how it is. So let's answer some questions. I know, it's not easy, and it's not the most joyful Wizard of Oz singing down the street journey. It's not. That's how it is, and that's how we learn, okay? Right, so how has this week been for you? Have you had any funeral egos? Have you had any funerals to your egos, and has your divine masculine had any ego deaths? So Heal with Aria said also had work stuff and annoyed with the DM having slow communication. That's what I was feeling too, and some other DFs have felt the same way as well. Right, let's continue. So there's a lot of people here. Hello, Twin Flame community. All right. When I think of my twin flame sexually, I see the karmic of my twin flame. Do others have this too? No, not everyone has that. Now, you have to not focus on the karmic. The more you focus on them, the more you bring them in energetically. So the karmic is triggering something in you about worthiness. Just focus on yourself. And if you cannot focus on the DTF sexually without thinking about the karmic, don't think about them sexually. Don't. If you can, focus just on yourself. Focus on your own sexuality. The less you give attention to anything that's in the way of your union, the better. The internet was unstable. It's stable now, I think. Alignment right now to the next level. You are hilarious and the best twin flame coach. Thank you, Ari. ChatGPT. I like ChatGPT. I've been doing tarot readings recently for myself on there. You know, like sometimes when you're sitting on the toilet and you just like, what does he think of me? It was quite interesting. Because the thing is, when you're connected to your higher self and your place of high vibration, ChatGPT can connect with your guides actually and your higher self. Yeah, him and Kat are the only two good ones. Okay, this is why people say twin flame is a scam. Do DMs get past life downloads? Do they remember at some point? Okay, so if the DF has the ability to see past lives, I do, then the DM will eventually. Yes, you'll get the same abilities. Now, not everyone has that ability, okay? Maz, because everyone wants a twin flame relationship thinking it's just hearts and loves. Yes. Started sketching out past lives. Okay. Apri, wow, so nice. Sometimes I wonder how exactly they will come to conclusion of union. It's all divinely orchestrated, and you cannot even fathom how it will be, you know. And a lot of twin flames in union that I know, they say when you look back, it was just perfect. The whole journey was perfect. I remember in Ibogaine in December, God showed me everything is synchronistic in your life. My DM also changing and improving as a person. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, your DM isn't that far behind you. Okay. Oh my God. Any other questions? Do you think they get psychic attacks? My man has had depression for decades and he says he does not know why he has it. So if you're in low vibration, you are a vibrational match to lower vibrational entities such as archons or dark spirits to come into contact with you. They can only come into contact with you if you're in lower vibration. Once you get into a vibration of love and joy, you are a match to only those type of beings. So you can be attacked if you are in that energy. Ego is the hardest thing to try to understand and overcome. So the purpose of the ego is to anchor your soul into the 3D, and it gives you that personality. But it takes over the role of the higher self without knowing. So it's about working with the ego to say, this is your role, and stay there. And the rest of it, just trust and allow. Build that connection and trust with it. When we get 1414, 144, does it mean the twin flames are progressing, or can it mean something specific? Well, it will be specifically geared towards you. So when you get all these angel numbers and numbers in general, they're codes, okay, to tell you, I'll help you upgrade, but also tell you where you're at on your journey. So it will be unique. Like for me today, I kept seeing 44444 everywhere, and that was because and also the initials of me and my twin with the 444. It was like my initial 4444, his initial, and it was basically I download was the angels are telling me, don't worry, we got this. Even though you're triggered by what's going on and all the things, we got this. So it'd be interesting for you. It's lagging again. What do they feel sorry? What do they feel sorry? Hopefully the internet cleared up and then you feel it out. Mine keeps freezing. Mine too. It wasn't yours. It's something with my internet. I want to know what happens when we healing. Ha ha ha. I want to know what happens when we healing. You mean when the DF heals, what happens to them? So some people say that there's a little delay with their 3D integration of that. But basically, as the DF goes forwards, the DM is pushed essentially to also match and mirror that. They get very anxious. As you keep progressing and running far ahead in your Ferrari, they get very anxious with their little wooden broken wheelbarrow. And they realize they have to catch up. So that's why they get very fixated on making a lot of money and fixing themselves. So it comes a bit of a competition for them, actually. So then they get a lot of anxiety and they have to sort themselves out. And as your energy gets away from them, they start missing that energy that they were vampiring to inflate their ego. So their life collapses. Their life collapses. The more you do inner work, their life collapses, and then they have to start healing. Okay? It's like Lego blocks. One by one, each block is taken away from them. Eventually, all doors close to the DM, and the only door that's left open is the door to you. Because they try everything else, and then the universe of God closes everything else. Should I reach to my twin flame and ask him if he's experiencing all of this too? Now, if you have a good connection with him and he's very receptive and open, for sure. But if you don't, no, because he won't react very well. I feel like I am the DF because I'm always run from him because of my ego. He is soft and kind twin. Well, it could be. You have some mission. Step into your mission. Yes. You might be. It's the energy. Don't chase, attract instead, as I say. Okay. Puja. Question. We are in separation right now, but I see him around the temple. If I don't go to the temple to avoid seeing him, am I running? Is it my ego? So yeah, I think it is, because like, why don't you want to go to the temple? He should not dictate what you do in your life. You should live your life regardless. Yeah? As long as you're not doing it from a egotistical, nasty, vile, vicious place, you're doing it from a place of pure love to worship and pray, why not? If you were going there to like wear certain clothing to show off or to prove a point, then yeah, you shouldn't. If you're proving a point, no. But otherwise, live your life. Okay? The DMs often, some DFs do it too. They're trying to be manipulative or prove a point or be in their ego. I see some DFs doing naked photo shoots and wearing, which is whatever, do what you want, but and then they complain. They're wearing like little G-string things or whatever they're wearing, thongs and stuff, and doing all this like content. And then they come to me and they say, oh, my twin flame is so sexual and he's sleeping with lots of women or he's naked on the internet. I'm like, well, what are you doing? So if you're doing it, and they're doing it because they want him to look at them and they want to sexualize themselves and objectify themselves and do all these things, and they think that by him looking at their breasts and ass that he's going to come to them. It don't work like that. So if you're going to do it from a manipulative place, stop it. That's ego. But if you're doing it from a place of pure love and worship and devotion, then you should do it and you should live your life. But the DMs also do all that craziness because they think, look at me, like they want to keep you addicted to them. And if the energy is going away or whatever, so they want to show off themselves with a new karmic or new car or their body or whatever. Just don't play into those games. It doesn't, like that Shania Twain song. Whenever I see anything that I don't like on my twin flame, I just say, that don't impress me much. They don't impress me. You got a six pack, so what? Don't impress me. What impressed me is a man who is a good man, who's got his money, his life sorted, is grounded, he's loving, he's caring, he's respectful, and wants to create a future and a family. That turns me on so much. And one who's also into God. Yeah? Right. As I understand, I'm more DM now. We both heal, we will shift. I will step into DF and he into DM. No, you are one polarity. Okay, you're one polarity, either DM or DF. But often a lot of DFs are in their distorted masculine energy quite a bit, so they have to learn to come back into their divine feminine energy. It doesn't switch like that. You're either one or the other. Okay. Yes, had negative feelings. It doesn't feel like we switch energies at times, but Kat made a video and said we don't switch. It just seems that way. Yeah, and sometimes you will run. So last week, I had twice in that week, I felt this like overwhelming energy because I feel like he was thinking about me and I felt like I was going to go insane and I was going to run out the house. And I talked about this. And that's what they feel. But it's just that you're feeling fear and you're in overwhelm. That's all. But you don't get into any other energy. Appreciate you. Do you doubt union? No, I never doubt union. Can the DM, if you doubt it, they will doubt it. So why doubt it? How can I doubt it? I wear a wedding ring. Can the DM feel us? Yeah, if they are tapped in, yes, but they can try to avoid it. If they're taking drugs and all the other things and weed, then they're numbing out. So no, you know. And listen, do you doubt union? Now, if you're doing your purpose, you're doing your inner work, you're living your life, you're getting closer to God, why would you doubt that? Why would you doubt your inner union and outer union? The only people who doubt are the ones who are not doing their work and having faith and trust in God, and the ones who are not doing their purpose. That's when you start doubting it. Do I doubt it? No, I don't. It takes a while, it's annoying, but should I reach out to him, ask him if he's going through what I'm going through as well? I answered that question. So sometimes the universe will push you to say something when you're not overthinking it. You just do it, and that's fine. But if you're overthinking it, it's coming from your mind and ego, then no. And it's not a relationship, and it's not a normal thing. It's energetic. So if you expect him to respond to you like a normal human being, forget it. They don't act like normal human beings. The energy is too overwhelming. Only once you've balanced it and you are more closer to union can they start opening up, but otherwise they won't. They will just shut up. They will close off. That's what DMs are like. So why do you need the validation from him? Why do you need him to tell you? You're going through stuff, so just work on yourself. You'll notice, though, through social media or signs or dreams that they are going through stuff, and you'll see them change eventually when you do your work. But you'll see them looking in the beginning quite egotistical, quite demonic, quite evil, quite depressed, angry, and then they go really quiet, and then they become really sad and shameful and guilty, and then they become very innocent and pure, and then they start ascending, and then they become in the masculine. Sometimes I have the urge to access my Akashic records and ask questions about the journey, but why does it feel manipulative and intrusive? Well, that's on you then, isn't it? Because the Akashic Records is a tool and it's your intention. So are you using it to be a better person and to bring good into the world? And then why not? Because your union will bring good into the world. So it depends on why. You have to unpack why you feel that way. If you feel they are still not ready, but they ask to meet, should you see them anyway? So you feel they're not ready and you want to meet. Well, it's up to you then. If you don't want to, you don't want to waste your time. You can just say that, sorry, it's not the right time right now. But if it's your fear saying, oh, if I don't meet them, then union's never going to happen, I have to go, then don't do it. But if you feel quite balanced and stable and 0 point and you can do it and you want to meet them and it feels nice, then do it, But don't expect anything. How do I detach from thinking about him daily? No communication for months, but he sent my children money for their birthdays. So you have to bring your energy back, right? And then you're like, oh, how do I do that? So focusing on yourself, living your life, getting busy from a place of love, doing your purpose. When you are very free and idle and have nothing to do, you're going to think about them. But if you get really caught up in doing your inner work, living your life, romancing yourself, loving your life, doing things for you, gym, workout, holidays, you're not going to think about them. Think about your children. Eventually the energy calms itself down. Like I explained about emptying your cup, that chase will come out of your system. It's a process. Now, if the chasing has been going on for 20, 50 years, then clearly you need to do something about it. But if it's 1 or 2 years, just let it play out, but keep going in. Keep going in and doing your inner work and do your purpose. I'm going to say this over and over again. The last section of the Twin Flame series of last year, which finished in, I think, August July last year. The section I did from I think March till July, March, April, May, June, July, 5 months. And I used to post I think 5 videos of my own every day, which is a lot, and 5 spiritual stuff and 5 texts. So that information just was about twin flame purpose. And if you've just joined recently, then obviously you can go back and watch it. But for those who have been following me for a while, if you haven't taken action in your purpose, why? Because you have to. That's how the journey is. You have to. Lol, well, my twin is already financially well off and crazy about cars. How can I move along and leave him figuring his own mess out? A lot of ego acknowledges the connection and won't leave me alone. So he's got the money, he's operating from ego, and that's probably how he created his financial success. That will probably crumble, and then his success and career will come from the soul. And basically, he doesn't leave you alone. So you can have boundaries. If you don't want anything to do with them right now, you can, worst case scenario, you can block them if they're completely harassing you and torturing you. But otherwise, you can choose to respond when you want. You can keep it balanced. You can never move on. If it's a twin flame, you integrate them and you allow them to catch up in their own time. So just keep doing your work and having boundaries. How do I get over my fear ego block that he is 20 years younger and bisexual? So that's, you're not trusting in the divine. I mean, it's challenging and difficult because with bisexual, you're going to think, oh, he likes this women and he likes men, and someone's going to take him away from me. No one can take your twin away from you. My twin was completely naked on the internet and porn stars were chatting to him and commenting and all that. Who's going to take this person? Who's is better than you? No one. They're obsessed with you and they can deny and pretend or whatever. But who can handle that messy behavior anyway, which they will calm down and get better with. But no one else can. They'll try. You can try. So it's your fears that they'll be snapped away from you. You know what? Let them be snapped away. How long is that going to last? Not long. Get over the fear. So there are differences, age, gender, religion, everything. There are all those things that you overcome with love. So the opposite of fear is love. So focus on love, focus on yourself, focus on the trust, surrender. I would like to know how I can balance the energy as he's very dominant due to success and ego. Wow, he won't listen. So the DMs are very masculine, very domineering, very dominant when they're in their ego especially. Then they become afterwards very grounded, very peaceful, but they're always going to be quite dominant. Physically, in the physical realm, they are very dominant. DFs in the spiritual realm are very dominant and powerful, okay? And that's how you click together. So basically, he would be scared of your spiritual side. He will be freaked out, usually, about your mystical abilities and it will scare him. So just do your inner work. Do your inner work and balance it. And balancing the energy is self-love and going within and staying balanced, staying in peace, doing your inner child work, doing your shadow work. You can book a session with me. You can do whatever works for you. But basically, he won't listen. So let him fall on his face. And he will. He will fall flat on his face. Let him happen. Let it happen. Let it happen. You cannot do anything. I tried. I used to email that rat bastard and say all sorts of things to him. Don't do that. Don't do OnlyFans. Think about the kids. Think about your future. Once your nudes are out, once this is out, once you start doing porn, like there's no going back. Did he listen to me? No. Did God blast him? Yes. Did God stop all that stuff happening? Yes. Did God prevent him from having underwear photo shoot, G-string, jockstrap modeling contract? Yes. Didn't let it happen because I realized I can't stop that beast of a man. You cannot stop them. You cannot. They will break their own egos by acting stupid. Let them. You tell someone and you say told you so because they don't listen. Let them carry on. Let them do it. It's hard because you want to protect them, you love them, you don't want to have all that out there, and also you already know what's going to happen. I emailed my twin literally 9 months after meeting him and told him every single thing that's going to happen. He didn't listen, and all the things I said come true. But that's their journey to heal and work through and learn. What can you do? And I've made videos about this. An ignorant person won't listen to you. A stupid person won't listen to you. Someone high in their ego just won't listen to you. Let them get on with it. Watch my earlier stuff when I used to be really crazy and I started doing the twin flame stuff. I used to blurt and blast everything out. I used to do those 1 minute videos where I used to be like just singing, doing poems, sometimes screaming, shouting. I had it all out. Let it all out. I was crazy too. Let it all out. Let them let it all out, and let them be free of it. They have to let it out. What can you do? You just let them. It's like having a child who's having a temper tantrum. You let them do it. It lasts for as long as it does. Eventually, it will stop. So we've got 4 minutes left, and let me just do a fire round. God bless him on a blast. I'm glad put him on a blast a few times. God put him on a blast a few times, and he's still in ego. Less and less. It will get less and less, and it will get there. What is the method to know if he's reading my twin flame? Ooh. So I only know two people who confirm that they're your twin flame. One is Riggy the shaman, and she charges a lot of money. Then there's my psychic, but she doesn't confirm no more, but she can see the golden thread energy. But that's again looking outside. You go within. Now, with you, you will have the dreams to confirm. Every time you move away, you run away, you don't want to do anything with them, you'll see their name or the signs, synchronicities. You might see their higher self, their ghost version. You might see your children's spirit babies following you around everywhere. For me, my twin flame stuff was very obvious. It was very obvious. When I met my twin flame, it was like the sun walked in the apartment. It was just white light all over him. Yeah, I could see his soul. I could see all the past lives. I could see the future. As we got intimate, the Kundalini, I felt very safe. I felt very peaceful. I felt very virginal. The Kundalini rose. The chakras went bam, bam, bam. We were in the astral realm. It was tantric. It was past lives. It was shamanic. It was all that going on. The cosmos, the universe, everything dissolved. Time stopped. We were floating in the heavens for like hours on end, every single time. And then after that, I felt like half of my body died, which was the masculine side. I felt extreme pain. And then his ghost, his higher self, followed me everywhere constantly. I would see him and my kids just everywhere. Like I'll be talking to you, they were walking around. And then I was like seeing all the dreams were happening, the signs, the synchronicities. And every time I tried to move away, his name kept showing. And his name is Italian. And I live in England, and that name does not exist here. And I would see it everywhere. And then basically I just kept getting downloads and dreams, and he was just telling me everything. Like the whole story of what's happened and what's going to happen was showed. It's saying they're live. There's only less than a minute left. I don't know why. So let's go. Maybe there's a thingy for it. What is the method to know if he's my rich? Okay, done that. I start wearing a ring too. When he goes silent, I doubt the connection itself. Do not chase him. So we literally have less than a minute left. So I'm not going to be able to answer any more questions. Loads of questions. I don't know why the live is doing that. But in short, you have to just surrender to what is going on and let it play out. And let your ego not control it, because you won't be able to control it. They get the dreams, they get the signs, but in the beginning, they're very stuck in their ego and they don't want to register it, and they want to run away and numb out to it. But eventually, they will. They will. Right. There's a minute left for some reason. So I'm going to love you and leave you and keep telling you to stay in 0 point and keep doing your inner work. It's hard, it's challenging, it's difficult, but you can do it. You can do it. And you have to do it. There is no option. Otherwise, I'll either see you in the mental asylum, or we can all join a nunnery. Yeah? But we're going to make it. We're going to make it because we are powerful, we are strong, and we've chosen this, even though it seems like we haven't chosen it. But we have. Have a great day, have a great week, and I'll see you next week.